Hello and welcome back to another video. So today I've got another slow cooker video for you. I've actually got a playlist of 4 or 5 of these, so I will leave that linked down below if you want to check out my other recipes. I love using my slow cooker. It tenderizes the cheaper cuts of meat and it can be really convenient as well. So let's go and have a look at some of the things I've made recently. So I'm just about to start a coconut and chicken curry, and the first thing I'm going to do is chop 2 onions. So I'm just going to peel them, half them, and pop them in my chopper. I will leave this link down below because everybody asks about it and I absolutely love it. It saves so much time and it gets the onion really nice and fine. So there we've got a nice finely chopped onion that takes literally seconds. So I'm just going to pop the other one in. I've also got a red chilli, so I'm going to pop that in as well along with my other onion, and then this is all going to go in the slow cooker with our chicken and our spices. So I'm going to use 4 chicken breasts and just roughly chop them up into pieces. You don't want them too small because they can dry out in the slow cooker. I've got my onions and my chilli in my slow cooker, and I'm going to add in the equivalent of 4 cloves of garlic. I like to use this chopped frozen garlic just because it's less hassle, less mess, and you can use what you want and put it in the freezer, so there's also less waste. So I'm just going to shake in roughly 4 cloves. For that, I'm just going to pop in my chicken breast. So now I'm going to add my spices, and I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of medium curry powder. I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of hot chili powder, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, 2 teaspoons of turmeric. I'm going to season with some salt and pepper, a little bit of black pepper. So next up I'm going to add in 1 tin of coconut milk, and then 1 tin of plum tomatoes. I'm going to give it a good mix together, and then I'm going to put it on low for 6 hours, and that is it. I'm just going to leave it, and then we will come back to it a little bit later on, and that is it. We're just going to pop our lid on and pop it on low for 6 hours. So here is our curry after 6 hours, and for the last hour of cooking I turned it on to high. My slow cooker's got 2 settings, high and low. I turned it on to high and took the lid off just so that it would thicken up a little bit. I've also added a little bit more salt after tasting because it needed a little bit more seasoning, but it tastes really good. It's not overly spicy, so if you wanted it really hot you could add another chili or some more chili powder. And I'm just going to serve it up now with some boiled rice. So here we are all ready to serve with boiled rice, and you could always garnish it with a little bit of yogurt or some fresh chopped coriander, but this is how we are having ours, just as it is. Slow cooker coconut chicken curry. Right, so I'm just about to make a slow cooker jambalaya, and for this I'm going to be using some smoked sausage. So I've got kielbasa, which is a Polish smoked sausage, but you can use any one you can get hold of. You can use the Mattison's ones that you can get in all the supermarkets over here, but I just really like the kielbasa. This is already cooked and it's just got a really nice smoky flavour. So there's 4 of those chopped up there. I've got some fresh parsley from in my little herb garden. We're going to need some pepper, some dried thyme, some cayenne pepper, some paprika, and I'm using smoked, but you can use non-smoked if you prefer it, and a tin of plum tomatoes. We also need 1 large onion and a large red pepper. This is one of the sweet pointed ones, but you can just use a normal one if you can't get hold of those. I've got around 3 cloves of chopped garlic, and then I've got 4 skinless and boneless chicken thighs already chopped. And I'm just going to assemble all this in the slow cooker. I'm also going to add a little bit of salt for seasoning, and then I'm going to put it on low for around 5.5 hours. Towards the last hour or so of cooking I'm going to add in some rice, pop the lid back on, and then you've got a really nice 1-pot jambalaya. So we're not going to worry about browning anything today. I'm just going to pop my ingredients straight in. So we've got our garlic, our pepper, our onion, our kielbasa or our smoked sausage. I've got a good tablespoon at least of freshly chopped parsley. You could use dried, but I didn't have dried and I had fresh. going to pop in my chicken thighs for skinless and boneless as well. I've got a tin of peeled plum tomatoes. You could use chopped if you'd rather. I always buy plumbed because I think they are better quality. And then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper for a little bit of a kick. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, just under a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. You can also add celery into this, but none of us are real fans of celery, so we're not putting it in. So I've got half a teaspoon of black pepper, and I'm going to give it a good stir, and then I'm going to pop my lid on, pop it on low, and that's going to go for 5 hours before I add anything else. So after 5 hours, this is how our jambalaya is looking, and as you can see there is quite a bit of liquid in the bottom. But what I'm going to do, because I'm going to cook rice in here, I've made up a pint, which is just over 500 ml of stock. This is just chicken stock. I'm going to add that in and mix it through. I've popped my cooker onto the higher setting. I've got 2 settings, I've got low and high, so I've popped it onto high. I'm going to mix that round so we've got quite a nice amount of liquid. And then I've got 300 grams of rice. I'm using brown because that's what we like. And I'm just going to put that in. I'm going to mix it through, and it's probably going to take between half an hour and an hour. Because it's brown rice, I'm probably going to give mine an hour because that does take longer anyway. So that will soak up all the excess liquid and you'll be left with a really nice whole dish. So I'm just going to pop my lid on and leave it for another hour or so. I'm going to check it up halfway. So here we are after about an hour, and the rice has soaked up all the liquid, and you're just left with your jambalaya with your smoked sausage and chicken and peppers and onions. So I'm just about to pop this in some bowls. So here it is dished up. I'm not going to serve anything with it because it is a meal in itself with the wholemeal rice, the sausage, the chicken, the peppers, the onions, and yeah, it smells very smoky and looks very comforting, proper comfort food. Right, so I'm just about to make some slow braised beef in a red wine sauce, and this is one of those recipes that is going to take some prep, and I know a lot of people do buy slow cookers, particularly for the ease and the convenience, the fact that you can throw stuff in and then off you go and leave it for the day. But a slow cooker can also be used as an appliance to make really tasty dishes that will take a little bit more prep, but it just gives a really lovely tender finish to the meat. The vegetables go really soft and it packs it full of flavour. So this is going to take some heating in a pan beforehand, but the actual slow cooking is a vital step in the process to make this taste amazing. So what we're going to need, and I will leave this recipe linked down below because it's a BBC Good Food one. As always, I change it as I go. I've got around 8 shallots in here. It says you need small ones, but these are quite big. I'm going to use 8, or you can use 12 small. I've got 4 rashers of bacon, some plain flour. I've got about 100 grams of button mushrooms. I've got some baby chantenay carrots. There's about 12 here, and I'm going to chop and peel these. I've got about 4 tablespoons of fresh parsley. I've got some mixed herbs, 300 ml of beef stock. We need some Worcester sauce and some vegetable oil. I've got 2 lots of 400 grams of diced beef, and then 300 ml of red wine. So what we're going to do is start this off in the frying pan, and then we're going to transfer it to the slow cooker, and it really is worth the prep on this one. So maybe not one that you'll throw together before you leave for work in the mornings, but it's a lovely kind of Sunday alternative to a roast or a nice warming dish on a cold day. So we'll get started with chopping and prepping our veg. Start by heating up our frying pan, and then I'm just going to put my bacon straight in it and let that cook for 5 to 7 minutes while it goes nice and brown. Once my bacon has gone nice and brown, I'm just going to remove it and set it to one side. And I'm just going to add probably about a tablespoon of vegetable oil and let that heat up, and then we are going to brown off our beef. Right, now my beef has browned nicely. I'm going to remove it with a slotted spoon, leaving the liquid in the pan. So into my pan I'm going to add my shallots. I've just quartered mine because it said small shallots and mine were massive, so chop them into quarters. I'm going to give those 5 or 6 minutes until they start to brown. Right, so while my shallots are cooking, I'm going to take 1 tablespoon of plain flour and 2 tablespoons of the red wine. And spill it everywhere. I'm just going to mix that together. Right, now my shallots have started to brown, I'm going to add my carrots and give it another couple of minutes. Right, so I'm now going to take my carrots and my shallots and put them to one side. I'm going to add my red wine into my really hot pan. And let any of the black burnt bits come off the bottom and mix in with the wine. Into here I'm going to mix my beef stock. I'm going to put half a teaspoon of mixed herbs. And 1 teaspoon of Worcester sauce. So now I've added all that, I'm going to pop my beef, my bacon, and my vegetables back in. And we're going to bring it to the boil. I'm going to add my thickening paste. Then it's all going to go in the slow cooker on low for 6 hours. It really is worth the prep. This is an absolutely amazing recipe and it hasn't taken me very long to prep at all. So we're going to let that boil. So now we're boiling, I'm going to add my red wine paste. That's going to thicken it nicely, and then we are going to transfer it to a slow cooker. So now I'm going to transfer everything into my slow cooker. So I'm going to pop mine on for 6 hours. About an hour before the end of cooking, I'm going to take the lid off and add my mushrooms, stir them through. At the end, we're going to sprinkle the fresh parsley over the top. Right, so my stew's been in for around 5 hours, and what I'm going to do now is just add my mushrooms. So I've got about 100 grams of button mushrooms, and I've just halved them. I'm just going to tip those in, and I'm going to give it between another 40 minutes to an hour. And then it's ready to serve with whatever you want to put with it. You could also add some dumplings to this, or have it with, you could serve it with mash, you could serve it with rice or pasta. Nice crusty French bread to soak up all those lovely juices. So I'm going to pop my lid back on. So here it is out of the slow cooker, and I've just served it with some roasted potatoes and a little bit of French stick with some butter just to soak up all those lovely juices. It smells amazing and it tastes really, really good. I've just sprinkled some fresh parsley on the top, and you can see there's all the gravy and liquid underneath, and it's just come out really, really well. The meat is so tender it just falls apart. And that is our slow cooked beef braised in red wine. Okay, so my next recipe is for a slow cooker lasagna. Now, as I said earlier, some slow cooker recipes take a lot of prep and a lot of ingredients, and other ones are great when you can just throw them in the morning, turn the slow cooker on, and you're done. You can either make this as easy or as complicated as you like, but you're going to want to start off with your normal bolognese recipe. So whether that's just browning some mince and adding some jarred sauces, or whether it's actually making up your own bolognese sauce, I have got a video where I show you exactly how I do my spaghetti bolognese, and you can use that for this lasagna, so I will leave that link down below for you. But I've basically made up a tomato, basil and garlic sauce, browned off some beef mince, and I'm going to start off by putting a layer of this in the bottom of my slow cooker. Already cooked mince with tomatoes, there's some onions in here, there's Worcester sauce, but you could equally just as easily buy a jar of sauce. It would make this so much quicker and one of those really convenient meals. So it's completely up to you how you do this one. So I'm going to put quite a thin layer of sauce first. It's important that you put the liquid in first because This will stop the lasagna sticking to your slow cooker. Now I'm just using dried lasagna sheets. You can get these in any supermarket. And as far as I know, they don't do round ones, so ours come in like rectangles. So you might have to do a little bit of snapping. And I'm going to add a layer of pasta to my dish, and I'm just going to kind of snap it to go around the edges and fit where I can. There is no need to pre-cook this. This will work perfectly without doing that. So once you've pretty much covered your first layer of mince with a layer of pasta, we're going to add some sauce. Now when I make lasagna, I like to use a cheese sauce. This, I have actually used a shop bought one. This is a cheese and bacon sauce that came from Sainsbury's. I've used it in lasagna a lot of times, and it's just quick and easy, and I can pour this in, turn my slow cooker on and head off for the day. You could make a bechamel sauce, you could buy a bechamel sauce, or you can use your own cheese sauce. Some people use ricotta, some people use cottage cheese, but this is what we're going with today. Like I said, it's nice and quick and simple. So I'm going to take my cheese and bacon sauce. The bacon really adds to the flavour. And we are just going to top that layer with our sauce. Kind of smooth it over a bit. So once you've covered your pasta, we're just going to repeat this. So I'm going to do another layer of the pasta sheets, another layer of mince, another layer of sauce, and then in the end we are going to top it with some grated cheese. And what I'm going to do now is grate some cheese over the top, and then I'm going to pop this on high for about 4 hours. You literally just want to leave it alone. Don't be tempted to peek. I mean, obviously you can look through the lid, don't take the lid off. Mine is a 6.5 litre slow cooker, if you're wondering, and it has filled it about halfway. So we're going to have chunks of lasagna about that big, and as you can see by my hands, it's quite a large slow cooker. So we are definitely going to get more than enough for our family of 5 with leftovers. So I'm going to top this with grated cheese, pop my lid on, and we're done. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I've got some strong cheese, so some extra mature cheddar. I'm going to give it a really generous layer over the top. We really like strong cheese flavours. If you're not as keen, you could use a mozzarella. It's a lot more stretchy, but it's a lot milder, so you can't taste the cheese quite as much. Again, you could use ricotta or cottage cheese for your sauce, which is not nearly as cheesy, but we are big fans of the cheese flavour. So all we need to do now is pop our lid on, pop the slow cooker on high, and come back in 4 hours. Right, so our lasagna has been on high for 4 hours. So what I'm going to do now is switch it off completely, and I'm going to pop the lid back on and leave it for about half an hour, because as with all lasagnas, it just needs to sit a little bit and then we can serve it up. So after half an hour, it has set really nicely, and I can just slice along it. I've already portioned it up, so we've got 6 pieces here, and I think they're going to be pretty big, and this is going to come out nicely. I ran around the edge. I didn't run around the edge. I went around the edge with a spatula, and hopefully now we will just be able to lift out our slices of lasagna. So here is our lasagna all served up, and as you can see, it came out in 6 lovely slices. You can see all the different layers there. It worked so well, and it was so nice to be able to pop it in and leave it to cook. I've just served it with some lettuce, tomato, balsamic cloves, some fresh chives, and a squeeze of lime over the top. So there we have our simple slow cooker lasagna. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to leave me a thumbs up. Go and subscribe if you're not already, and I'll be back really soon with another video. Take care, guys.